That's it. I'm done with this job. She slammed the files on the table so hard I thought the desk might crack. Papers scattered like autumn leaves in a gust of wind. When I looked closely, I could see her flushed with anger. Her hands were gripping the edges of the desk so hard her knuckles turned white. Seema, come on, just take a moment to breathe. I tried to place a calming hand on her shoulder, but she shrugged it off like it was a fly landing on her arm. Ouch, it hurts. Breathe? I've been working my butt off on that report, and he looked at it like it was just his trash. He didn't even see it once and just told me to leave. I'm not putting up with this nonsense anymore. Seema, just think this through. Maybe it's not as bad as it seems. I attempted to reason with her and tried my best to guide her back to her seat, but she was so charged, I almost felt electrocuted. Think it through? I've been patient, but he treats my work like it's toilet paper, Ryan. I'm so done, she spat, and I mentally facepalmed. She was so determined to leave that no amount of reason seemed reasonable enough. I tried to keep her from standing, but she was like a coiled spring, ready to fly out of this building. Damn, girl, stop trying. My poor arms can't hold you for so long. I held her at her waist like she was some lottery ticket to Hogwarts, but she slipped away from my arms as if I was made of air. I am not working for him anymore. That's final. With a final defiant hug, she gathered her scattered paper and shoved them into her bag. She shot me a lost look, half anger, half resignation, and then stormed out. I stood there, feeling the aftermath of her departure. The office felt colder, emptier without her. We were not fast friends, but we did have our own chemistry as colleagues. I sighed and then began to tidy up the mess. I couldn't help but wonder who would fill in for her, and that too willingly. If Seema exist was an indication, they were in for a rough start. A short while after Seema left, Jungkook's voice came through the intercom. Ryan, could you come in for a moment? Great, now I'll be his new punching bag. I walked into his office and saw him sitting behind his desk, and holy smokes, the effect he has on me every time I see him. Oh God, this man was just unreal. Body of a Greek god donned in a crisp black shirt and with rolled cuffs, matching vest pants and shoes. His long black hair perfectly styled. Black framed spectacles aiding his eyes as he read the papers. Good God, he really took his sweet time making this man. This Jeon Jungkook was ridiculously handsome. The kind of handsome that make you look twice, thrice, 4 times, 5 times until your head is permanently D-shaped. How could someone hate him? The angry face of Seema screaming. He looked at me like it was just his trash. Flashed in my mind, and I gulped. Anyways, he sat there, unaware of how difficult it was for me to be standing there inches away from him, seconds away from him, jumping at him and devouring him for lunch. What a delicious meal he would make. I licked my lips before smacking myself for being an idiot. Help me, God. Save this girl from committing a sin right here. I silently prayed as I walked in front of him. He signaled me to sit without even looking up. There were a bunch of papers spreading out on his table. He barely looked up as I took a seat. His eyes were focused on the paperwork in front of him. I need an update on the quarterly report. How's it coming along? He said as he read the papers. It's nearly done, just waiting on a few final figures from the team. I'll have it ready by the end of the day. I watched him trace a finger on some words and then scribble something on the paper. Make sure those numbers are accurate. No room for mistakes, he said as he switched his eyes between the paper and then typed something on the laptop. Of course, I noted, my restless leg tapping on the ground. There was a brief silence as Jungkook continued to sift through his documents. His focus was intense, his eyes firmly staying on the paper. They never quite met mine. There was something in the air. It felt thick. It felt charged with an almost palpable tension. And Seema? How's she managing? It broke the eerie silence and I hesitated, not knowing how I should break the latest news. Seema, she actually left. She was unhappy with how her report was handled and decided to resign. Jungkook's head snapped up, and for the first time that day, his eyes locked onto mine. There was a flicker of surprise in his gaze. I held my breath as I looked into his weirdly attractive dark orbs, those big doe eyes that were pulling me in. I felt my pulse quicken. The weight of his stare forced my eyes to lower. She left, just like that, he said, a hint of shock reflecting in his voice. He took off his spectacles and massaged his temples. Maybe it was frustrating for him too. Employees not meeting up to his standards. Yes, I breathed. She was frustrated with everything and decided she would stay any longer. I see. His tongue floated his cheek as he leaned back into his resting chair and stared at me. Well, we'll need to find someone new quickly. Make sure you get the new hire up to speed. I'll handle it. I'll get them oriented as soon as they start. Good. I expected a smooth transition. He gave a subtle nod and leaned forward to put on his glasses. He did not meet my eyes again as he returned to his favorite work. Is there anything else you need? I stared at him once again. No, that's all for now, he said dismissively, and I stood up. Gathering my things, I could feel his gaze on me as I headed for the door. See? This is it. It's been 2 months since I joined, and every time I'm in the same vicinity as this man, I feel like it's just me and him. Even among 100 people, it would be just me and him. My eyes find him everywhere. I don't understand what is it, but I know it's just dangerous. After all, he's the boss, the CEO of this huge conglomerate, and I'm just an employee. The next day, I wore the usual button-up shirt and a short skirt to the office. My hair was tied in a neat bun. I had to get there early because the new employee was there to be soon. Hey, did you see him, the new guy? She was my colleague as well. I looked at her with raised eyebrows. I just arrived at my desk and looked like the circus was already in full swing. As you can see, I just arrived. I rolled my eyes as I placed the file on the table and dragged the chair out to sit. Go check him out, he's so cute. She nudged me and I sighed. Spare me, Raki. I've got enough on my plate. Plus, our boss will have my head if I mess anything up. Suddenly, the room fell silent. Everyone's attention turned to Jungkook's office, which was conveniently right next to our department. There stood a man. No, a gorgeous man. Shaking head with her boss. Everyone, this is Kim Min-gi. He will replace Mrs. Seema Kardashian as marketing manager. He announced, and everyone looked at the new employee with awe. But then there was Raki, who was gaping at the man like a fish. Wait. Seema's last name was Kardashian? Like for real? Is she related to... She said confused as she whipped her head at me for answers. Mrs. Sawant? He called out her name, but Raki was still staring at me. Mrs. Raki Sawant, I'm talking to you. He said, and Raki immediately got aware of the situation. She scampered over, but almost tripping over her own feet twice. I'm sorry, boss. Tell me what I can do for you? Show him around the departments and then leave him to Mrs. Park. She will guide him. Yes, boss, she said, and the look at Ming-yu was stars in her eyes. Let's go, cute boy, shall we? Everyone looked at them with smiles. Raki was our department's resident clown. I shook my head and turned back to my work as soon as Jungkook left for the office. I know he'll demand the files before lunch, so I had to finish them soon. Soon my cabin was filled with Raki's voice. And this right here is Miss Park Ryan, the star of the marketing department. She joined 2 months ago and already made it to the top. She complimented me and I smiled. Then she whispered something in his ear which I didn't quite catch. Also, she doesn't have a boyfriend. Really? He said, surprised, and Raki winked at him. There's a party coming soon. She'll make a great partner, won't she? A woman complimenting another woman? That's a first. I am married and I love my husband. If I was a bachelor, you would not be standing here. He then laughed at something which of course I didn't hear. Whatever, just go and get her. On it. He winked and Raki left. Hey, Ryan. He smiled as he approached me. Oh hey, Ming-yu, right? I stood up as I shook his hand and dragged a chair ready to sit. Correct, and thank you. He sat next to me and we began talking. Turns out, me and Ming-yu had a lot of things in common. We even studied from the same school. Oh, I hated Mrs. Wen. She once made me run laps around the school with a sign that read, I never listened to my teacher. It was humiliating, man. I didn't come to school for a week. No way, it was. You? He pointed a finger and I felt the same embarrassment take over me. No way, you remember that? I was stunned. Ming-yu laughed and I sulked. I threw my hands up. But that was like 12 years ago. You were such a troublemaker. There was always some news of you destroying something. You were just so shocked how could a girl pull all these stunts. You're right, I smiled and I sighed. I had a wonderful childhood. I had so many friends, but then one by one, everyone disappeared and we moved places. Time went by and we'll become adults, and now nothing is the same like before. Everything's changed. True that. Adulthood sucks. We sat together after talking about everything and nothing. I love how we talk about everything but work, I said, and we laughed once again, but then suddenly we felt the presence behind us. Exactly, he said, and both of us whipped our heads back as if someone was giving out free biryani. My heart skipped a beat when I saw him look it down with thunderous. We talked about everything but work. You see, his cold eyes dead set on me. He was perfectly fine like an hour ago, now he looks like he's about to explode. I thought to myself and looked at Mingy, who was equally shocked. Mr. Kim, it seems like Mr. Park is unable to guide you, so I might as well do it myself. Come, he said, and Mingyu sprang up from his seat, looking at me with apologetic eyes. And Ryan, I expect you to complete that report in an hour. The department wouldn't want to lose another employee. My heart sank when he talked to me like that, and here I thought we might have a thing. I returned to my desk with a broken heart and resumed my work. Every time we finished a project and it was successful, the company arranged a party. So after the completion of yet another project, we had another party which was in 2 days. Who's boss taking along to the party? He asked me while I was working on the computer. We just finished up conference and everyone had left to their respective cabins. I stayed behind to type up the summary of the meeting, so Mingyu decided to give me company. I don't know, it was a massive project that took like 4 months to complete. We had to finish 800,000 automobile unit. So there was no party in between to guess who goes with whom. I kept my eyes on the screen, typing furiously. Who are you going with? He asked cheekily, and I looked at him with a done expression. I am not going. I'll sit this one out. I said smugly and shut my laptop right after the summary was complete. It's your first party. You should come. He followed me as I got up from the seat and gathered myself. I don't really want to. I tried to brush him off, but he wasn't giving up that easily. Or is it because no one asked you to be their plus one? He said, and I stopped doing whatever I was doing. He was right. No one asked me yet, but I was ready to accept that. It's not like that. I just don't feel like going. I shrugged, trying so hard to not let him see through me. Can you go with me? He said, and I froze. To the party? I stared at him like he had just sprouted an extra head. It's true. I wanted someone to ask me out, but it wasn't just anyone. I wanted it to be Jungkook, Jeon Jungkook, or boss. I know it's stupid, but I cannot stop torturing myself with these fantasies. You want me to go with you? Yeah. No, why is that so? Have you ever looked at yourself, Ryan? You're like the most prettiest. Is that a word, girl I've seen in my life? Wow. I did not know you were such a sap. Ryan, I'm serious. Will you go out with me? Well, since you're practically begging and I don't have a better offer, why not? I put on my best thinking face and Mingyu beamed at me until the sound of glass breaking filled the air and both of us flipped our head that direction. The smiles fell from our faces like hot potatoes. There stood him, once again, with the same angry expression. This time, it was a bit too intense. Oh my god, boss. Jungkook was staring at me, only me. My heart skipped a beat when I heard him hiss in pain. Ryan, call our nurse, hurry. Boss has got some shards inside. He said, and then the reality dawned on me. Jungkook had somehow appeared out of thin air, broken a glass, and hurt himself in the process. Why? No one knew. It's okay, Mr. Kim. I'm good. Just get someone to clean this mess. He did not look like he was hurting, but I could see his hands bleeding. Mingyu handed him a few tissue papers and quickly called the janitors while I stood there not knowing what should I do. Let me help you to your office, he offered, but Jungkook waved him off. I'm perfectly capable of walking myself, Mr. Kim. His tone was sharp, making Mingyu look like he wanted to disappear into the floor. Ryan. Yes, boss, I stood alerted, and Jungkook narrowed his eyes on me. Why don't you make yourself useful and carry my things to my office? He said, and the stack of files and papers that I hadn't even noticed until then. I nodded my head quickly and handed my stuff to Mingyu so he could carry them back to my cabin. Okay, boss. I picked his stuff carefully and walked out of the conference room. Why is Mr. Mr. Jungkook angry 24/7? His blood was boiling. He even dismissed nurses when they arrived to inspect his hands. Get back to work. I'm all right. He dismissed everyone who got to know about him. Huffing, he went straight to his office and walked to his desk. However, he stopped right on the track when he spotted Ryan looking outside the vast window. She was so shocked at the beauty that she didn't even feel her boss standing right behind her. Enjoying the view, are we? He said slowly. Ryan froze and turned around in horror. Her hands landed on the glass, her breath ragged. Ryan, she was caught in 4K.